All right, we are back from the break, ready to dive into the full review here. So the film begins in a mining tunnel, and we see some figures walking through the tunnel with breathing masks on. Right off the bat, we have a woman stripping off her outfit, and she has a heart tattoo right on her chest, bosom. They're about to get intimate, but instead, this guy in the outfit pushes her straight through a pickaxe, killing her. And it didn't take long for our first kill. JD, what do you think about the first scene?
My Bloody Valentine gets right to the nitty-gritty, and it establishes what we're going to see and how we're going to see it. And we're going to see boobs, and they're going to get stabbed.
Gets right to the nitty-gritty and right through the titty.
That was good. That was probably one of your more clever lines.
Next, the workers are showering up after work. I know this was your favorite part. And they're talking a lot. There's a lot going on in the shower. We pass a sign that says, "Welcome to Valentine Bluff" on the outside. And then we see the workers arrive to a building where all the girls are preparing for a big party. And most of the guys here have girlfriends. One of the guys tries to pick up Gretchen, who tells him to suck it in and zip it up. I love that line. JD, what do you think about the big Valentine's Day dance party?
To me, it's a little weird because we're focusing on adults that have full-time jobs and that are throwing Valentine's Day dance parties.
Yeah.
Does that not seem a little odd? It's not high school. It's not college. It's not middle school. It's, hey, we're a bunch of roughneck miners.
That's a good impression.
Thank you.
There's several of them that sound exactly like that. Now that you mention it, it seems a bit weird. These guys do feel like they're right out of college, but there's also a lot of adults involved in this, so I don't know what to say. It seems weird. Next, Major Henninger enters the party hall where he runs into his son TJ, who tells him that he has to go. You could tell they have a strange relationship. Howard runs out a present to the mayor, and when he opens it up in the truck, he discovers a bloody heart, which is clearly ground beef in the shape of a heart. And the major just says, "It can't be happening again." Let's listen to a clip inside the bar explaining the February 14th story.
I know what I'm talking about. I'm telling you now. This town is accursed. It started 20 years ago. It was the night of the Valentine's Day dance at the Union Hall. The biggest event of the year. It had been a tradition for over 100 years. Everybody was there except for 7 miners who were out at the Henniger mine. 5 of them still down below. 2 supervisors were waiting for the men to come up. Anxious to get to the party, they left before the men were safely out, failing to check the methane gas levels in the tunnels down below. The 5 men were buried alive as the town continued its party. For 6 weeks, we dug around the clock to try to save them. After we broke through, 1 man was found alive. I was the one who found. Harry Warden spent the next year in the state mental hospital. Exactly 1 year later, on Valentine's Day, he came back to town. He killed the 2 supervisors who had left their posts the year before. Then he cut out their hearts and stuffed them into heart-shaped candy boxes. That night at the dance, we found the boxes, blood dripping out the sides. Inside was a note, a warning from Harry, never to hold a Valentine's dance ever again. Every February 14th, Harry comes back to town, his pickaxe stained with blood, waiting in the shadows of the Henniger mine, just for someone to kill, should they not heed his warning. It could be you.
JD, what do you think about the bartender scene? I love the setup.
Yeah, this old salt that seems to know everything about everything and just gets to narrate the story and set up all the history and lay the pieces and foundation for the rest of the narrative that we're going to go through. Thank goodness he showed up to work today.
The mayor is in the doctor's office, and the doctor confirms the heart is real and it belongs to a 30-year-old female. The mayor says if it's those damn kids, he wants them all strung up, especially that Howard Lenders. The doctor says, look, we have our answer. It's got to be Harry Warden. JD, what are your thoughts on the Harry Warden storyline, and are you buying this?
So what I'll say is I think it's really cool the way that they set this story up, where they sort of have a prequel built into the setup,
Yeah.
and we're coming into the sequel story, and we have this whole backstory about this, what, Harry Warden,
Mm-hmm.
with, you know, his whole shabeel and shebang, that it makes sense. Like, they're building this slasher super villain. Yeah, I buy it. I buy that this son of a bitch is the bad guy. I don't like him either. I bet he smells.
I'd buy it for $1. Maybe 2 meatballs, you think?
It definitely 2, not 3.
Okay. Yeah, we're not at 3 yet. We cut to a shot of a figure walking down the road, and we have several shots from point of view inside a laundromat that's been done up with heart cutouts, and they're all over the washing units. The figure puts a heart-shaped candy box on the table, and the elderly lady, Miss Mabel, enters and sees the box with a note, and she reads the note. Roses are red, violets are blue. One is dead, and so are you. The lights turn off, and the lady starts screaming, and she's pushed into a corner and almost makes it out, but the figure pulls her by the hair before killing her with the pickaxe. JD, what'd you think about this death scene?
I think pickaxe is a pretty formidable weapon. It's heavy, it's versatile, it's agile, it can stab, it can slice, it can slash. You can pick somebody apart with it, you can crush bones with it. It's kind of like a mix between, well, a pick and an axe.
Pickaxe.
I love it.
Yeah. We cut to the junkyard where all the guys are hanging by a barrel fire. TJ sits in a car, and Axel comes over. JD, what do you think of Axel?
Well, Axel obviously makes me think of Axel Foley.
Yes.
Or Axel from the Twisted Metal franchise. But I'm going to go ahead and just cut you off right away and say, what the hell are they doing in this junkyard? What is this scene?
They have community dances, they hang out in junkyards, I don't know. That's the part that's confusing.
See, and we touched on this earlier, and we were talking about the authenticity of both the story and, you know, maybe this is just what they did. Like, the screenwriter sat down and said, you know, when I had a hard day at the mine, we went to the junkyard and we cooked up some food on an engine block.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
So Axel is talking with TJ here, and he tells him that Sarah is going with him now, and that's all there is to it. And he explains that he's not gonna back off. And he says, you know what? You went away. Nobody knew where you went. And TJ just stands up and says, okay, if it's a fight you want, it's what you're gonna get. We both know what Sarah wants. Axel walks away, and then Hollis comes over and tells TJ he's being too hard on him. TJ says, you know, he really does like that son of a bitch. But yeah, it is what it is. JD, what do you think of Hollis and his amazing mustache, though?
How old is Hollis?
I'd say 39.
Easily. Like, this guy is on his third marriage, has gone through 2 painful divorces. He drinks Wolfschmidt. And this mustache is just so eloquent and so, like, well taken care. I don't know. Like, I can't put my finger on what the hell Hollis's deal is, but I think the actor is no longer alive, so let's focus on that.
Yeah, no longer here. What do you think about the subplot, though, between Axel and TJ and kind of fighting over the girl? Is that easy writing?
I like it. I think it does add a layer to the characters, especially given where the story winds up going, and it's important to note both the psychology and the sociology of their interactions and their level of lust with the female, as it were, and their masculinity and testosterone levels at one another. So there's a lot of give and take that plays off of them that I think is written pretty well.
Next, it is Friday the 13th, and the sheriff is calling the mental hospital to confirm that they have Harry Warden. The lady at the hospital says they have no records of him. She says it's either three things: he's transferred, he was released, or he's on the slab, and it's one of those three. Take your pick. The sheriff is all upset, and he says, I need to know what happened to the man, and I need to know now. And he hangs up on her and says, they don't even know what happened to him. And then the major thinks that they might want to just go ahead and cancel the dance here. JD, do you think they should cancel the dance at this point, or is that premature?
No, I think it's obvious that they should cancel the dance. Like, that should have, when you've got the whole backstory of everything that happened with Warden and him saying, never do the dance again. Like, why would you ever do a dance again? Like, just let it go. Have, instead of a Valentine's Day dance, have a President's Day dance.
Good point. So Patty and Sarah walk down the street next, and Sarah is unsure if she even wants to go to the dance at this point. And then we cut to the sheriff, who is going to get some advice from Mabel, only to find her dead inside the dryer. And we just see Mabel kind of pop out of the dryer, and she's pretty much a skeleton at this point. I thought this looked pretty cool. I actually like the makeup and stuff for this. What'd you think?
Well, I will say that the version that I watched apparently was a censored version.
Oh, wow.
So I was looking at GIFs from the movie earlier today. And I didn't put two and two together until that you're just saying this right now. But a lot of the deaths were sort of censored out of the version that I watched for free on Vudu. I don't know why. But this was one of the ones that was included in its full bloody gore, and it is fantastic. You're right to compliment its makeup.
Down in the coal mine, the fight between TJ and Axel continues. Axel, who seems to be in charge of the group, tries to force TJ to do something, but he refuses. And then we cut to Miss Mabel again, the sheriff and Major putting her on the gurney. And Sheriff tells the ambulance guys that if anyone ask any question, she died of a heart attack. The sheriff finds a heart inside Mabel's body. So like I don't know if it was like an extra one that was put there or something. And then there's a note that says, it happened once, it happened twice, cancel the dance or it will happen thrice. The major cancels the dance and says, I don't want to see a single heart anywhere. JD, you called it. They should cancel it. The mayor has done it. What do you think?
Good for him. Cancel the damn dance.
TJ takes off after work and finds Sarah, and he gets her to go into the car, which she half reluctantly agrees to. He takes her to the water and he's like, hey, do you remember this spot? And she wants to know why he didn't write her and why he didn't call when he disappeared. And he says he wanted to, but he just couldn't. And he just wants a second chance with her. And he tells her that he loves her, and she cries, and they start kissing. And JD, the plot thickens, man. The love triangle. What'd you think?
It is a love triangle for sure. This part took me a little bit out of the story, that they've got this sort of like Chris Isaac music video scene where they're out by the water, and it's just sort of like lucid and lovey-dovey and all of that. I just want to focus on the story and the killing. But it is an important scene to propel the narrative forward, especially with the characterization between man and woman in this scene.
Sarah is walking late at night in the next scene, and she's talking to herself. What am I going to tell Axel? We have a cheap scare here with the chief. And then back at the bar, the bartender says, did you hear about Mabel? Happened just like I said. The guys are thinking about how they can still have a party, and TJ says, how about the mine? Not everyone is on board right away, but they come around pretty quick. And then Hap, the bartender, says, don't say I didn't fucking warn you. TJ tells him he better not say nothing. And as they leave the bar, we have a close-up on Hap, who just says, assholes. JD, what do you think of Hap, the bartender? I love this guy.
He's pretty freaking awesome. I love him so much, and I want him to serve me a drink.
Yeah, and we've got more Hap in the next scene here. He arrives at the mine and says to himself, "Piss on Harry Warden, I'll show these damn kids." He sets up a fake Harry Warden look-alike that will pop out when they open the door, and he's just laughing hysterically here. He keeps popping it open and shut, and he's about to walk away, but thinks maybe I'll just give it one more try. And this time, the figure in the mine suit is real, and the pickaxe hits him right in the eye, and that's the end of old Hap. JD, what would you think of the ending of Hap?
How many times did he open that door to test that out?
Like 5 times.
He was just like, "Who? Let's do it again. Who? Let's do it again."
Yeah, it seemed unnecessary, but yeah, he got, I guess, what he deserves here. Picking on those innocent kids. All they want to do is party. Come on, Hap.
I was going to say, he doesn't really deserve to die.
Well, debatable.
Well, master debatable.
Next, the party is underway, and the beginning of this scene just kills me here. Howard's unpacking a box and saying, "Here's the wieners," and he's just tossing bags of them throughout the building. I don't know. What do you think? Do you laugh when you hear somebody just say, "Here's the wieners"? Or is that just me being a 10-year-old?
I think the bigger question is, which is the funnier word, wiener or dong?
I think it's wieners.
Interesting. Audience? Maybe a poll topic?
Yeah.
Purple-headed yogurt slinger in the archives?
Pedro? The chief gets a note at his office, and it says, "Will you be my Valentine?" from Mabel. And this time, it's an actual box of chocolates. We cut to TJ arriving at the party. Axel and Sarah are right behind him, and the party is now in full effect. In the next room, one of the guys is making more wieners when a figure comes from behind and drowns him in the wiener water. And I actually love this scene because as he's gasping for his last breath in this giant bowl of wiener water, we actually see hot dogs floating throughout. What'd you think of this shot?
We talked about the comparison between this film and Sleepaway Camp, and I just couldn't help but think of the corn cob scene.
Yes, in our archives, great scene.
I don't know which death I like better. Like, obviously, my Bloody Valentine wore it first, and he wiener watered him. But I think Sleepaway Camp does it a little bit better, and we get to see more of the scalding skin.
Quick question on the topic of wieners. Do you prefer yours boiled, microwaved, or grilled?
I want to say boiled.
Okay. Says a lot about you.
It does, and I accept.
Okay. Outside the chief's office, he finds a heart-shaped box, which is being surrounded by all these wild dogs trying to get to it, and he reads the note first. "You didn't stop the party." The chief says, "What party? What damn party?" And he opens up the box to find it all bloody, and we know the drill at this point. Back at the party, Howard says, "Hey, check this out." He's holding the soda can, and he puts a straw in his nose, sucks it in, and then he jokes, "It's the first time he tried to snort Coke, and he almost drowned." I don't know. This made me chuckle a little bit. What did you think?
It was very immature.
Yeah.
I just don't see it. When you look from a writing standpoint, let's look at it like this. You have to look at the pieces of the puzzle that you're creating, and you have to look at each line and each scene and each situation, and you have to say to yourself, what does this do for the story?
Right.
What does this really do for the story? It's funny, but since you brought it up, let's criticize it.
I mean, in the 80s, it's probably a lot funnier because people were doing Coke like it was just, that was a fun thing to do. I don't think they realized how awful of a drug it is. And it didn't have that stigma to it yet. So yeah, I guess him joking about snorting some Coke in his nose and almost drowning would have went over like gangbusters in 1981.
Yeah, everybody's sitting in the theater just rubbing their nose like, "Oh, us too."
So we're back at the party. Axel and Sarah are having a bit of a skirmish, and TJ tells him to back off. Sarah says, "I've got my own mouth." TJ says, "Well, why don't you use it and tell him?" TJ tells him she wants to go back with him, and that starts a fight between the two guys that doesn't go well for TJ. He gets punched a couple times, and then Hollis breaks it up and pushes Axel out the door and tells him to cool off. We got some fight breaking out here between our main characters. Outside, Axel is sitting against the wall by himself, and he's literally just banging his head against the wall. We cut to a point of view shot of a couple making out in the boathouse, and the girl says, "You know what I need?" The boy says, "Yeah, I do." And he pulls out his wallet with a rubber in it. Now that made me pop right there. JD, did you ever have the old rubber in the wallet?
No, I never really understood it.
I did.
It. Did you?
Yeah, oh yeah. Big old ring on my wallet.
I never was a wallet person to begin with, though. Like,
okay.
I never really carried a wallet. And then when I did, it's never been a traditional wallet. It's been more of like a card holder.
Okay.
So no, you're on your own there. You and your apparent ring wallet.
It left a big old ring. We're back to the wieners. One of the girls pulls out, no pun intended, what is clearly a heart, but it's all boiled over. And then we cut back to the shower room with all these hanging clothes in the ceiling, and the shower turns on, and we hear the girl call out for John. "John, is that you? John?" She gets up and tells him if he's trying to scare her, well, he's doing a good job. All the clothes start to lower from the ceiling, and she tries to run for the exit, but she's met by a dead body, and then the figure. He grabs her by the neck and then by the face and throws her and thrusts her into a metal rod where she's just hanging from her head and blood is dripping down. Sylvia's gone, and then John makes his way back into the building, and he thinks that she wants to get freaky in the shower, but he finds her dead hanging body, and he drops his beer and just sits there and stares at it. JD, I gotta imagine this was all bleeped out on your version as well, but what do you think about that death scene?
Yeah, I definitely did not get to see this full death scene, but I do want to comment on the whole lead up to it. Again, when we talk about authenticity in writing, watching the clothes come down from the ceiling is something that I think few people would necessarily be able to imagine.
Yeah.
Because, like, if this is how miners hold their clothes up in between shifts, like, you need to have that intimate knowledge of your scene and your setup and your story to be able to really infuse that into it. And to me, that I just love this part. It reminds me a little bit of I Know What You Did Last Summer when they're in the...
Yes.
Right?
Yep, I was just thinking that as you were explaining it. I was like, sounds like I Know What You Did Last Summer. And then you said it.
Yeah,
cool.
We're always on the same page.
Kind of.
At least we're reading the same book.
Right. Different
Playboy
chapter.
for me, Playgirl for you.
Right. No, wait. No.
Makes me wistful. It's wistful.
So back at the party, Hollis's girlfriend says, "Why don't we go down to the mine?" And the guys are like, "Nah, we don't go down. We said we wouldn't go down to the mine." But a little peer pressure from the opposite sex, and they're all on board. So they run out with a 6-pack, and TJ runs after them and warns Hollis. He's like, "You know the rules, no going down to the mine." Hollis is like, "Well, just a quick ride, and it's the girls. Come on, man, loosen up." So Hollis starts up the train carts, and he gets a few blankets and lights, and he yells up to keep inside the cart and pass him a beer. There's no way they're actually riding down to a mine in like a car. Like, this can't be real, is it, JD? Like, these guys, I know it's a crappy job, but like, they get to ride like a roller coaster on their way to work?
I have no idea, and I've got no reason to believe that this isn't accurate, especially for 1981.
Yeah, it would seem unnecessary for them to set it up any different. I gotta imagine it's real. Now the cart stops, and Hollis says he hopes they enjoyed themselves, but we're gonna be going right back up. But the girls are like, "We want a tour," and Hollis is like, I told you. All right, I'll give you the tour. He gives in so easy. And he says this part is abandoned. We don't go down there anymore. And then they enter an old engine room, and one of the couples quickly takes a detour. And of course, we know this probably won't end well for the young couple either. We cut back to the party, and the kids are starting to lose it. Alex comes in and says, "Dave is dead. Harry Warden is here. Now get the fuck out of here." TJ tells Axel that Sarah is down in the mine, And TJ and Axel are now teaming up to go rescue the others. JD, what do you think about this?
I love that they're teaming up together, and I think that this goes to show the importance of setting up your characters and the conflict between them, because we know that they don't like each other, but they've got a mutual respect and love and lust for Miss Lady Pants, and they're willing to put that aside to find her and to save the rest of their friends. What you could only have as a payoff if you set up the animosity between them earlier in the screenplay.
Okay. So the two guys are lowering down into the mine. Sarah and her friend, meanwhile, are scared by Hollis, and then Hollis is going to try and lead them out, where they run into Howard, who comes hanging down, and we get a nice cheap scare here. Hollis says that they're on their way out, and then we hear a figure quickly approaching, and we cut to, in the distance, we see smashing lights on the wall. It's actually pretty cool. And Hollis says, we need to find Mike and Harriet and get out of here. We cut to the chief, who runs into one of the cars that was fleeing from the party, and they tell him all about what's going on and Harry Warden. So back at the mine, they run into TJ, who tells them that Harry Warden is alive and he's killing people. TJ tells Hollis to meet him in Tunnel 6, and he sends him to find Michael and Harriet, who were last seen in the engine room. Hollis enters and finds the dead bodies of the two, starts to back up slowly out of the room. A noise is heard as Hollis drops his headlight. He takes 2 nail gun shots right to the head before stumbling out of the room. JD, what are your thoughts on the nail gun and the eventual death of Hollis, who kind of stumbles back to the group before dying here?
I feel so bad for Hollis. He takes a nail gun to the head. That's not a good way to die, because that has to be painful.
Yeah.
And slow.
That
would hurt like hell.
That would be awful. Feels like something Kevin McAllister would have pulled off on Marvin Harry.
Well, didn't he? He nailed him, didn't he?
I don't think he got a nail gun to the head. Yeah, he did nail gun Marvin the head, didn't he? I think it's in part 2. He nails him right between the nose. As they are tending to Hollis, they see a figure charging towards them in the distance, and Sarah yells to Howard to wait for them, you bastard. Patty cries over the death of Hollis, and then Axel finally catches up with the group, and he tells the girls to follow him, and as they're leaving, he's like, where's TJ? The girls tell him that he went looking for the others, and Axel tells them that they're getting close. They're at the mine cars, and Axel hears something and smashes TJ because he thinks it might be Harry. The chief has arrived at the mine next, and we cut back inside where TJ and Axel lead the girls out, and they get to the elevator finally, and TJ says, man, smash the control panel. There's no way of getting out of here. Axel says, well, we climb. So they start to climb one rung at a time. And Patty's having a meltdown here as she's climbing, but Sarah tells her, just move it, damn it, there's no other way. Sarah yells up to Axel to go slower, and as they're climbing, Howard falls with a rope around his neck, and his head detaches here as the rest of his body goes crashing to the ground. This is a really gruesome scene. JD, what do you think of this kill scene?
It really is pretty gruesome. The version that I saw didn't show too much, but
yeah,
it at least illustrated the fact that there is a death.
You must have saw like a really scaled down version.
I don't know. Like, I don't know that I'll watch a free voodoo movie again.
Yeah. Man, heavily edited. What's their deal? Now, Axel says he knows a shortcut to the rail cars. TJ thinks that's the only way to beat him, and Axel instructs TJ to take the girls and give him a yell when he gets across. TJ tells them that they're clear. Then we hear, oh, ah! And the sounds of Axel falling into the water. He goes to check on him, and we see the wood railing has been cracked, and there's a flashlight kind of floating down into the water. Next, TJ separates from the girls for just a minute, and we hear some mining rocks crumble on the ground, and the girls go to check on him, but there's no response. So Sarah takes charge now, and they look for a way out. The figure turns the corner and jabs Patty right in the stomach. She looks up in absolute fear, but Sarah manages not to run, but to slowly walk away from the supposed Harry Warden figure. Outside, the police have arrived, and we hear footsteps as TJ grabs Sarah, and she cries out in fear. TJ's got some blood on his face here, and looks like he's gotten into a scuffle, but we don't know actually what happened. And she mentions the blood, but he says he's okay, he just got hit, that's all. The figure appears with the pickaxe in hand, and TJ gets to the rail cars to run, and they jump from car to car, and they're trying to, get away from this guy, and they get all the way to the front. So they jump off the rail cars, and the fight continues, and we cut real quickly, and we see the cops and the chief are close as the rail cars are passing them in the tunnel here. TJ continues to fend off the supposed Harry Warden, and they dip into this little side tunnel that says danger. Finally, Sarah grabs a big stone and smashes it over the head of this guy, and it startles him for a moment, about ready to kill TJ here when Sarah rips off the mask, only to reveal it's actually Axel. Axel's got a crazy look to him, and TJ's like, why? When we flash back to Harry Warden, who's actually killing Axel's father. So TJ gets away, and he swings and knocks down this thing, and a ton of rock just comes crashing down on Axel. And TJ and Sarah are able to slip out of the tunnel, where they're met with the cops and the chief. JD, a lot to unpack here. What do you think about the unveiling of Axel? And it's actually not Harry Warden.
I personally like this little twist of fate that we get to see. It's, as we talked about in the Glass and Unbreakable review that we did, it's almost unearned as a twist because there's not many breadcrumbs that set up the fact that it's not Harry Warden. At this point, when they unmask the killer, it could literally be anybody, and they could have shown any flashback and made it fit to the story that they wanted it to fit.
Yeah, that's why I like the scene with TJ where he's got some blood on his face. I'm like, that seems odd. I didn't see him get attacked.
It's odd, but I don't think it's earned throughout the entirety of the story. Now, I think if they took a step back, that they could have done a little bit more to set it up. And, maybe I'm missing something, so feel free to call me out, audience. You guys are good at calling out my bullshit, which I'm full of. But I still like it, nonetheless. I like it. I think it's a thoughtful way of bringing the story full circle.
Yeah. And
bringing in the original history of the St. Valentine's Day dance murder that the miners have gone through, and making and giving purpose to why Axel is the killer. How he becomes a psychotic, rambling, deranged lunatic all of a sudden, and he just sort of is laughing and squealing and just like that, I don't know. But
so as TJ comes out, he says, "It isn't Harry Warden." And one of the cops says, "Yeah, we actually found out Harry Warden died 5 years ago." The chief says, "It was on this very day that Harry Warden killed Axel's father." TJ and Sarah hug, and they make their way out of the mine, and the other cops and workers try to uncover the body of Axel. And we see an arm comes out of the rubble, and Sarah runs in when she hears him say he's alive, and she has to see him. So she reaches in and grabs and kind of touches his hand, and she wants to know why. And you see him kind of grab her hand and like almost use it as leverage, and he cuts off his own arm. And he says he and Harry are coming back, and he laughs sadistically as the credits roll. JD, what do you think about the ending of the movie?
That's exactly what I was just getting at. Like, his whole sadistic, deranged mentality, just how deep does Axel's crazy really go?
Right. That's a good question. I guess we wouldn't know because they never made a sequel to this because it bombed at the box office. So, and I don't remember if 3D dives more into that or not, or if they even go a different storyline. I don't even remember 3D, to be honest.
I really don't either.
I don't know if there's an Axel, if there's a TJ, if they're fighting over a girl. I assume that part's probably the same. That's a great question. I don't know. I didn't think the ending was bad. I don't know that he needed to say, like, me and Harry will be back. We just found out Harry's dead, so that loses a lot of steam. But overall, I mean, I thought this is a fun watch, man. It's a quick movie. Probably going to be one of our shorter episodes we've ever done for a full movie. Not a lot of clips to play either. But I enjoyed it. So how do you feel about the movie overall?
Yeah, I was very satisfied watching it. It's a lot of fun. I think that it's a story that is unique and it plays out in a great way, which a lot of movies just can't handle. And I like the way that they sort of bring in the previous history and just tie it into the narrative without necessarily spending too much time of the film with the events 20 years ago.
Okay. So we're going to be back next week with another episode. And JD, have you seen my stapler? We're getting into Office Space, man. I know this is one of your favorites. It's a movie that I love. What are you looking forward to most when we get into Office Space?
It's a very quotable movie. It's very exciting. We got some great actors going on. Somehow they land Jennifer Aniston.
A lot of flair.
A lot of flair. I spent a good amount of time working at restaurants throughout high school and college, so I'm all about that. No, let's get down, let's get dirty, let's talk some Office Space, and it's looking like we're going to have Jesse as a guest, so.
That's awesome. Yeah, looking forward to having JD's brother Jesse on the podcast. He's been on several times, but it's been quite a while, so looking forward to catch up with him. You guys can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, YouTube, CastBox. Everything is free. Just remember to drop us that 5-star review. You can follow us on social media at backintimepod. We are on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can email us at backintimepodcast@gmail.com. I am at kautry29. Justin's burping at unjustjustin. And we're out of time. Time to get back into the DeLorean, punch in today's date, return back to present day. Thanks for listening. See ya.
Seriously, wiener water? What a way to go.
And no one will know as the years come and go of the horror